Hello students, welcome back to Notebook. In this video lesson, we will analyze the political situation of India between the years 1971 and 1977. We will also learn why the emergency was imposed on India, what it meant and what its consequences were. Let us now begin. In 1967 and 1971, Lok Sabha elections allowed Indira Gandhi to emerge as a popular nationalist leader. This was also the time the Congress party faced factionalism and polarization, which led to the eventual split. This period also witnessed bitterness between the government and the judiciary. The Supreme Court also declared several initiatives of the government in breach of constitutional principles. The ruling party in turn viewed the judiciary against democracy and parliamentary supremacy. The Congress party also viewed the court as a conservative institution against pro-poor welfare programs. Opposition parties felt that governmental authority was becoming synonymous with personal authority. Congress R had employed the Garibi Hatao, Remove Poverty as its slogan and agenda in 1971. However, the socio-economic conditions of the country did not ameliorate in the following years. In addition, the Bangladesh crisis had left India with 8 million refugees. The Indo-Pakistan War too had left a dent in the Indian economy. The US, having sided with Pakistan in the war, stopped all aid to India. Oil prices increased manifold during this time in the international market. The consequence? An overall increase in the prices of goods. Prices increased by 23% in 1973 and by 30% in 1974. This level of inflation caused hardships and unrest among the people. Industrial growth was adversely affected. Rural unemployment was another problem. To curb government expenditures, the government stopped paying the salaries of its employees. The monsoons too failed. Agricultural productivity declined. The output of food grains declined by 8%. This prevailing atmosphere of dissatisfaction allowed opposition parties to capitalize on the situation. Non-Congress parties successfully organized protests. Student agitations that began in the late 1960s became more pronounced during this time. Marxist groups which decried parliamentary politics led an armed insurgency to oust the corrupt, landowning classes and efface the capitalist economic order. The Maoist Naxalite movement was a peasant uprising that began in the village of Naxalbari in the Darjeeling district of West Bengal in 1967. Though the movement originated under the leadership of the Communist Party of India, Marxist, in 1969, the party split and the movement was led by the Communist Party, Marxist and Leninist under the leadership of Charu Majumdar. It was argued that democracy in India was corrupt as it was ineffective and the call for an armed revolution. The movement, though strongest in West Bengal, soon spread to other states of India. The government took staunch and sometimes unlawful means to suppress the movement. The Naxalite movement used force and guerrilla tactics to attain its political goals of taking land away from the landowners to give them to the poor and landless. The Naxalite movement has been divided into several parties and organizations. Even now, nearly districts of 9 states are affected by Naxalite violence. Most of these are poor, backward states where the government has not effectively addressed the people's problem. Forced labor, exploitation, and corruption are rampant in these areas as well. Human rights activists have often criticized the government for violation of the constitutional norms in tackling the Naxalites. Several thousand people died due to the violence of the Naxalites, as they did due to the counter anti-Naxalite violence of the government. Student protests in Gujarat and Bihar had an impact on the politics of the two states, as well as the nation. In June 1974, students of Gujarat started protesting against the rise in prices of essential commodities and corruption in positions of power. The students' agitation was joined by opposition party members as well. Precedence rule was imposed in the state. The opposition parties demanded fresh state assembly elections. Morarji Desai, a leader of Congress O and political rival of Indira Gandhi, declared that he would go on an indefinite fast until elections were held. Under intense pressure, elections were held in Gujarat in June 1975 and the Congress was defeated. Bihar witnessed agitations in March 1974. The students' protest against inflation, food scarcity, unemployment and corruption gained momentum. Jaya Prakash Narayan led the students' movement on the condition that it would be limited to Bihar and would be non-violent. This movement developed a political character and was joined by people from all walks of life. Narayan demanded the dismissal of the Congress and called for a complete revolution to establish democracy. However, the government refused to resign. The movement soon assumed a national appeal and Narayan wanted to spread it to other parts of the country. Alongside this agitation, the Indian Railways called for a strike in 1974, which lasted 20 days. This threatened to paralyze the economy of the country. In 1975, JP led a People's March to Parliament, which was one of the largest political rallies to be organized. Opposition parties like Bharatiya Jana Singh, Congress O, Bharatiya Lok Dal, the Socialist Party, etc., joined him in the struggle. Nonetheless, JP faced several criticisms regarding the mass agitations. Unfortunately, the protests in Bihar and Gujarat were not seen as the people's expression of dissent. The ruling party viewed these agitations as anti-Congress, motivated against the leadership of Indira Gandhi. This was also the period that the government and the judiciary were at loggerheads. 3 constitutional issues surfaced on which the ruling party and the courts did not agree. First, the Supreme Court declared that the Parliament cannot abridge fundamental rights. Second, the Supreme Court denied the Parliament the right to curtail property. And third, the Parliament amended the Constitution to abridge fundamental rights. After the Keshavananda Bharati case of 1973, where the Supreme Court ruled that certain features of the Constitution cannot be amended by the Parliament, the post of Chief Justice of India was vacant. Usually, the senior-most judge of the Supreme Court is appointed to this position. However, in 1973, the seniority of the 3 judges was sidelined and Justice A.N. Rai was appointed Chief Justice. The decision became controversial as the 3 other judges had given rulings against the government. Thus, the contention between politics and constitutional interpretation of the judiciary further problematized the situation. Those close to Ms. Gandhi advocated a judiciary committed to the vision of the legislature and the executive. The climax of the controversy resulted in the High Court declaring Ms. Gandhi's election invalid. That is all for today's lesson, students. In the next video lesson, we will study about the emergency and the controversies surrounding it. Here's Tim Notebook bidding you a warm goodbye. See you soon. Till then, keep learning.